Hi, artists. Welcome to part two of our Freedom Quilt unit, Secret Codes of the Underground Railroad. This week, we're going to take a look at where some of these traditions came from. As we do that, we're going to look at the artwork of contemporary artist Amina Robinson, who was from Columbus, Ohio. She used many African traditions of fiber arts, of weaving and sewing, in artwork like this quilt, this story quilt that you see behind me in the studio. Okay, but first we're going to review. So remember that we talked about a showway and how showways were secret codes. They were hidden messages that helped the slaves that were seeking freedom, help them on their journey north. We talked about how the patches in the freedom quilts had hidden meanings that told them where to go, and also codes were hidden in the spirituals. Well, we're going to go back in time and talk about where the traditions of hidden images or symbolic images comes from. So we're going to look at these totems from the Republic of Benin. So this tradition dates back more than 1,000 years. Originally, the totems or images were used to symbolize the great kings or other royalty. In modern days, the totems are worn on clothing, they are stitched onto flags, and they're also sold as souvenirs. So the images, like this one down here of the bowl, um, had meanings either about certain characteristics of a person or um, or talked about the kings. Kente cloth is another fiber art tradition that comes from West Africa. Kente cloth refers to this textile from Ghana. It's hand woven, either using strips of silk or cotton. Historically, the fabric was worn kind of in a toga-like fashion by royalty from the ethnic groups of the Ewe and the Ashanti. So the kente cloth is deeply symbolic. As you can see on the slide, all of the colors had special meanings. In addition to the colors, the patterns had specific meanings. The kente cloth patterns are still worn by people in West Africa today, and you may have seen also to commemorate certain special events or celebrations. Kente cloth is also commonly worn by African Americans during events such as graduations, wedding ceremonies. So now we're going to take a look at Amina Robinson and how she used traditions like the ones we just learned about and also quilting and incorporated them into how she created her artwork. These large pieces, if you can see right here in the middle of the slide, this is a woman standing in the museum looking up at these giant quilts. Each little, well, they're not little, each piece, each patch tells a story. Amina Robinson describes her work as more than just a job or career, as it being more of a way of life. Her art focused primarily on her experiences, but also on her community, her ancestors, and as she explains, the spirits that came before her. She has thousands of works of art, and they're all made from an incredible assortment of materials like fabric. She does needlepoint, she paints, uses ink, charcoal, plastic, metal, glass, clay, any kind of found objects, uh, She used brick and sticks and really buttons, cowrie shells, scraps of fabric, really anything that she could find or upcycle into her artwork. So, like I said in the previous slide, Amina Robinson's work is not only about her own experiences, but also about her ancestry and where she comes from. So, if you look at some of these close-ups, look at the fabric. Do you recognize the kente cloth stitched into the background? If you look up here, you see cowrie shells that she commonly used in her work. In Africa, the cowrie shells symbolized power and prosperity. Take a look over here at this image of a woman quilt making. It says quilt maker, Big Annie making a quilt for baby Roy. Now I'd like you to take a listen to this story read by the incredible James Earl Jones. If you don't recognize him by name or by his picture, just wait until you hear his voice. Well, I don't want to tell you. He's a character from The Lion King. So I think you'll recognize him after you start to hear the story. So, in this incredible story about heritage and ancestry, it kind of incorporates all of the things that we've been talking about in our lesson. It talks about the tradition of fiber arts and quilting and how it's used today by artists like Amina Robinson. Just listen, it's such a great book.
Welcome to Storyline Online, brought to you by Screen Actors Guild Foundation. My name is James Earl Jones. You might wonder why I'm doing the reading and not you. I'll give you a hint. As old as I am, I still need practice, because I learned to read quite early, around by the time I was 4, but I didn't read out loud until I was 14, because I didn't talk. See, I'm a stutterer, and I'm also somewhat dyslexic. But we'll try this anyway. Today, I'm reading To Be a Drum, written by Evelyn Coleman. The artwork is by Amina Brenda Lynn Robinson. During a morning mist, the fog swirled up around Matt, Martha, and their daddy. And when they sat cross-legged, they couldn't be seen from afar, but they were there. Then Daddy West told them a story in his soft voice, the voice that could tap, tap, tap Matt and Martha gently on their hearts. Daddy West began, long before time, before hours and minutes and seconds. On the continent of Africa, the rhythm of the earth beat for the first people. The earth filled the air with spirit. The spirit rose on the wind and flew into our bodies, and our own hearts beat for the first time. We were alive. The beat moved through our bodies, pushed out from our fingers. That is how our drum was born. With the drum, we spoke to the animals and to the people. The earth's heart beat out the rhythm of all there is. We listened and sounded the rhythms back for her to hear. Then men from another continent came, men who would not listen to the rhythm of the earth. They shackled us, the people of the earth's color, and flung us into the bellies of ships, bringing us enslaved across the oceans and the seas. They tore us apart from one another and did not allow us to speak our own languages. We were a lost people. We were no longer free. We thought we were no more. Then they took the drums away. But cruelty cannot stop the earth's heart from beating. The earth spirit moved through us still and pushed not only out our fingers, but out our entire bodies. And we became the drums, living drums, beating for the whole world to hear and see. We were alive. We would be free. So, when we worked in the fields, we made our feet drums. When we sang songs under starlit skies, we made our mouths drums. When we talked to each other, we made our speech drums. When we stitched our quilts, we made our hands drums. When we fought in wars, we made our courage drums. When we invented things, we made our minds drums. When we fought for our freedom, for our civil rights, we made our communities drums. When we created music, paintings, sculpture, dances, and dramas, we made our art drums. When we wrote down our wisdom, we made our stories drums. When we recorded our memories, we made our histories drums. When we became farmers, scientists, teachers, leaders, entrepreneurs, and tradespeople, we made our dreams drums. We were the earth's people. We were the living drums. We would always be free. Daddy West leaned over and whispered, "Listen, do you hear?" He stretched out on the earth, his arms spread like a bird's wings. Matt and Martha lay down close beside and put their ears to the ground too. They waited for the magic to be theirs, waited for the hearing of the earth's heartbeat, waited to become. "I hear it, Daddy West," said Martha. "I don't hear anything," said Matt. "You've got to let go, son," Daddy West said. "Be quiet and still. You'll grow to be strong if you learn to be still." Matt let out a deep sigh. His body relaxed, like when he floated on the pond. At last, he heard the earth's heartbeat. "I hear it, Daddy West. I hear it too," he shouted. Daddy West smiled. "And what does the earth say?" Matt and Martha and Daddy West all drummed the earth's heartbeat together. Boom, 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 boom. "Now the both of you," Daddy West said, "will always know how to beat out your own rhythm on the earth." Then Daddy West, Matt, and Martha took each other's hands and strode from the field with the heartbeat of the earth sounding their way. You too can be free. Become a drum.
Oh, that really is a beautiful, incredible story with amazing illustrations from Amina Robinson. So just like the characters in this story were living drums, and the stories of their ancestors were felt inside of them, these traditions that I've shared with you today have been passed on. And you can see it through the work of even modern artists like Amina Robinson. So now I'm going to explain to you what you are going to be making and handing in for this week. Hi artists, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of our Freedom Quilt lesson. This week, what I'd like you to do, you are going to be turning in 2 quilt patches. and you are going to be taking a picture of your quilt patches and uploading them into the Google Doc that I have attached to this. I have a demonstration video that shows you exactly how to take a picture of your work. All right, so the first quilt pattern that you are going to take a picture of is the North Star that you created last week. And then I want you to choose another one of the Freedom Quilt patches. And I want you to color that one as well. Now I'm going to be taking your images and combining them into one giant digital image of a quilt. And we're going to be using this as part of our Black History Month celebration. All right, so you have 12 different patterns to choose from. You can print them off if you have a printer at home. If you don't have a printer at home, don't worry. Remember, in last week's example, I showed you exactly how to create a square. I'm going to do a quick recap. Okay, so if you don't have a printer at home, you're going to create your own quilt patch. So you need a square piece of paper first, so you're going to fold this one up to the size match, and you're going to cut off this little flap here at the top. Okay, then when you open it up, we're going to do a series of folds. The folds are going to give us a grid pattern that we can then use to create our patch. Okay, so first we're going to fold it in half up. I'm going to fold it in half again. When I open it up, I see that I have 4 rows across. Now I'm going to fold it the other way. I'm going to fold it in half one more time. Okay. And then I'm going to use these lines as my grid to help me grab a marker to help me create my pattern. So I'm going to pick an easier one to show you. All right, we'll work on this one. This is called the shoe fly pattern. Okay, so again, you need a straight edge or a ruler. And to create the shoe fly pattern, I'm going to find this first fold right here, line my ruler up along the edge, draw straight down. I'm going to find this fold right here, draw straight down. I'm going to find the first fold here at the bottom, straight across. I'm going to draw a line up here, straight across. And the last thing on the shoe fly pattern is to draw a diagonal line across these bottom squares. Okay, and that is how you draw the shoe fly pattern if you don't have a printer. Now, just like last week, you may either create a collage using any kind of papers that you have on hand, scrapbook papers, old photos, old calendars, whatever you have, painted papers, old art projects that you don't want to use anymore, you can upcycle them. Or if you simply want to use crayons, markers, colored pencils, you're welcome to do that on your square as well. This time, what I'd like you to focus a little more on is creating a pattern inside of each patch, or a smaller piece, I should say. Let's really try to make this look like fabric. So if you don't have pretty designed papers, we're just going to pretend. It doesn't matter. I'm going to draw something different inside of each one. Okay? And then you can color this however you choose. So again, you are going to be submitting 2 patches this week and uploading the image into Google Docs. You are not creating a Flipgrid. It's a little crooked. Okay, so you should have your North Star patch from last week, and you are either printing out a new square and drawing patterns and coloring it, or if you don't have a printer, you're going to create your own quilt square. You can do the shoe fly, which I just showed you. And remember, it's very important to add some kind of patterns or detail to really make this look like it is made from fabric. All right, well, I hope you have fun, and I can't wait to see what you create and to put all of these together into our own giant school-wide quilt. All right, until next time, bye. Okay, artist, that was it for this week. Clover and I are just going to be hanging out in the studio, and we can't wait to see your work and put it all together in one big collaborative piece. All right, take care. Bye.